Hey everybody! Thanks for joining us. I'm Lynn from EJG'S. Today we're going to be working with a few of the new IOD summer release products. The Chanticleer mold on this really cute upcycled tray. I've also used the St. Germain transfer, and I'll be sharing how I upcycled this vintage mantel clock, took it all apart, put it back together, and used Chanticleer here on the front and use the IOD Floriography inlay to accent this beautiful piece.
It's Friday and it's our day off. JR and I were out on a little road trip looking for plants, and we came across this awesome little bakery outside of town. So we decided to stop for lunch here and met the farm cat.
Oh, what a sweet kitty.
And we were surrounded by all of the farm chickens and goats and farm dog while we ate our lunch sandwiches, which were made on homemade bread. Now let's get started on project number 1. I have this little vintage style tray that I found in my stash. I cast some of the Chanticleer mold pieces in resin, and now I'm applying the PENTART primer paste over all of the molds. It gives them a little bit of texture and also creates a really great surface for applying any other paints and mediums. While the primer paste is drying, I've gone ahead and pulled out some Fusion mineral paint in the color Champness, which is a really pretty country French blue. I'm going to go ahead and paint the entire wood base of the tray. I wasn't sure at this point just what I was going to do with the metal rim of the tray, so I decided to tape that off just in case I wanted to keep it in its original finish. When that first layer of paint was dry, I went over it with more of a dry brush technique using Fusion's French Eggshell. Then I removed the tape. When the paint was completely dry, I did a quick sanding to reveal more of those layered textures underneath, and then I pulled out the St. Germain transfer. I selected a few of those dainty little florals to apply to the top of the tray and the bottom of the tray. Here I'm using PENTART's Heavy Body Gel as my glue to apply the molds to the back of the tray. I love using the Heavy Body Gel because if you have areas on the back of your resin casting that have dipped in, the Heavy Body Gel fills in those spaces so that you have good flat adhesion for the entire surface. Now I'll go ahead and let those dry overnight. Since I want to apply some antiquing glazes to this piece, I decided that I'm going to give the entire piece a coat of our Funkiture Rock Hard Top Coat so that then I can more easily remove any excess glazes or antiquing that I use. You can use any water-based varnish for this step. The Funkiture is a sealer that can be used outside. It's a marine grade varnish and is available in 3 different finishes. Allow this coat of sealer to dry completely. Then I'm going to come in with the PENTART UMBER Antiquing Gel. Apply that with a damp brush, one section at a time, and then wipe away with a damp cloth to remove the excess and leave the antiquing gel in all of the details. I've included a list of all of the products that I've used today in the description box below. And while you're here, we would sure love it if you would go ahead and click that subscribe button and let us know which of these is your favorite project that I've done today. We always appreciate you stopping by to join in the fun here at EJG'S and get inspired by the tutorials that we create for you each week. We understand that your time is valuable, so we do appreciate when you are able to leave us a comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next tutorial. JR and I first laid eyes on each other at a local nursery called Roberts Brothers Farms. I was headed there to pick up some fertilizer, some composted manure, some mulch, and there he was. I had no clue who he was, but we did have a very brief conversation while we were there. He basically said, be sure you water in that fertilizer well so it doesn't burn the plants. JR was a local landscaper here in our town and took care of lots of gardens and created many, many beautiful landscaping projects here locally. We always say that I married him for wholesale plant material. The gardens you're seeing here are not ours, but they were part of a little tour that we took on the day that we were out plant shopping. We come here often to get fresh dug perennials to pop into our own gardens. Project 2 is another piece that I found in the basement stash. It had already been primed with some white paint. This is a small mantel clock. I am going to turn it into a beautiful French country looking clock with the IOD Chanticleer molds and this IOD Floriography inlay. I need to find just the right patterns to put onto the top of the clock. I selected a single design and then I'm going to split that in half. Once I position it along the top of that clock, it's going to be a perfect fit. I love applying my inlays into Debbie's DIY clay-based chalk paint. With inlays, you want to get your medium on there. In this case, like I said, I'm using the chalk paint, but you can also use any types of clear mediums. But to me, this is the OG. And I always get the best results when I use Debbie's DIY. So I'm spreading a layer of the Debbie's DIY chalk paint on the mantel clock. I mist the back of my inlay sheet and then gently press that into the wet paint. I use a brayer to really press that pigment sheet down into the wet paint. And then to really get those paint pigments activated, I'm going to mist the back of my inlay with our gentle spray from the Mr. bottle and then wipe away the excess water with a paper towel. I want that inlay to dry completely, so while I'm waiting for that, I will go ahead and pour my resin castings. My first tip is when you first get your bottles of resin, there are two parts, part A and part B. Go ahead and label the tops of those so you don't get the lids mixed up with each other and have stuck lids. You can get the resin in different colors or you can dye it. Here I'm just using a tan Alumilite casting resin. Combine equal parts A and B and then mix it thoroughly until you begin to feel that chemical reaction. So the resin will feel a little bit warm and then get it poured into the mold right away. I do not like to fill completely. Allow that resin to settle into all of the details of the mold and then you can add more as you need to fill the mold. Try not to overfill and create a convex surface on the back. It will make gluing your molds onto your piece so much easier. Once the mold has completely cured, you can pop those right out of the mold and they're ready to go. I like to use PENTART's heavy body gel to apply my molds to my piece. That gel is nice and thick so it can fill in any uneven surfaces and make sure that you get super good adhesion. Once the molds have dried completely, I'm going to go ahead now and apply some PENTART primer paste over the top of the molds. This is just one of those PENTART products that I like to use on resin because it creates a little bit of texture and also prepares that resin to receive paint. I set that aside to dry completely, and then I'm going to go ahead and prep this little Amazon Find replacement mantel clock piece. I carefully sanded the outside edge where I'm going to apply Fusion's cast iron paint. The IOD inlay has dried completely now, and it's time to remove it. So I'll give it a gentle mist with my Mister. You could also use a damp sponge or paper towel and allow that to settle into the inlay for just a minute, and then gently peel back that inlay carrier sheet to reveal the inlay embedded into the paint. This is such a magical moment. The IOD paint inlays can be reactivated with water or moisture, so it's important to get them sealed completely so that you can then apply any type of wax or water-based finish. Here I'm gently applying my top coat, moving in one direction only and not over brushing. If you're not confident with this, you can always use a spray sealer to seal all of those pigments in place. After this sealer coat has dried completely, I can then apply a Fusion antiquing glaze to give this just a little bit of depth. I apply the antiquing glaze with a damp brush and then have damp paper towels handy so that I can wipe away the excess to get the desired effect. I do the same thing on the front of the mantel clock over the Chanticleer molds so that the antiquing medium just stays settled in all of that detail. Once the antiquing glaze has dried completely, I take a dry brush of Fusion's Casement paint and lightly brush over the surface just to highlight those raised areas. There's the finished clock. I think it has a really beautiful old world look, lots of texture. It almost reminds me of vintage chalkware. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. L&J Goods is a brick and mortar shop in Medina, New York. You can also find everything we've used today at ljgoods.com. And check us out on Facebook, where we have a free insider group where you'll get lots of inspiration, not only from me, but from other creatives as well.